Shlok for today of Dasashloki. We are doing one shloka a day. Dasashloki is a 10-verse composition by Bhagwan Adi Shankaracharya. Let me chant the shloka. Na Sankyam, na Shaivam, na Tatpancharatram, na Jainam, na Mimamsakadir Matam va Vishishtanubhutya Vishuddhatmakat Tatvat Tadeko Vashishta Shiva Kevaloham Tadeko Vashishta Shiva Kevaloham. Om. Translation goes like this. Neither the Sankhya principle nor the doctrine of Shaiva, not the principle of Pancharatra, nor the doctrine of Jainas, nor the principle of Mimamsa are unique experiences. For the soul is the purest known truth, so I am simply Shiva the Self, for this remains even in sleep after everything is taken out. As you know, Bhagwan, the young Shankaracharya, is giving his introduction to his guru. In shlok number 1, he gave his introduction by saying that he is not the physical body made up by Panchabhut. In shlok number 2, he said that all the Varna and Ashram dharmas, all the societal divisions don't apply to me. In shlok number 3, he negated all attachments and relationships, that none of these apply to me because I am that supreme being, which he calls Shiva Kevaloham. Shiva means not Bhagwan Shiva, Shiva means auspicious one. Now, in this particular shlok number 4, Bhagwan is saying that his identity, he is not defined by the concepts, by the religious labeling, by the notions that people have within their mind. So when Bhagwan took avatar on earth, the spiritual climate, the spiritual fabric in India was completely fragmented. Vedas were literally reduced to just the practice of karmakand, and the teachings of the Vedas, the Vedant part, had simply been forgotten. And instead of Vedas, various different schools of thought, should not say instead of the Vedas, but instead of Vedant, various schools of thought had sprung up. And each school of thought, each philosophy was adamant on proving that they were only the right ones that taught the truth. So here, Bhagwan is saying that none of these schools of thought, none of these philosophies apply to him. He doesn't identify with any of them. And the reason is that he has already attained the highest truth, and he has followed the teachings of the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Vedant part of the Vedas, and now none of these philosophies apply to him. So what are these philosophies that Bhagwan mentions in this shloka? The first one is called Sankhya. Sankhya philosophy or Sankhya darshan, one of the 6 darshans of Vedanta. So this is founded by Kapila Muni. And in this Sankhya philosophy, they don't talk too much about the cause of the creation of the universe. They talk more about the order in which the universe was created and the process of creation. And it talks about, mostly talks about Purush and Prakriti being the two main focus of this philosophy, Purush being spirit and Prakriti being matter. So Bhagwan says, this is not applicable to me anymore. The second one he talks about is the Shaivite philosophy. So in Shaivam philosophy, the main focus is the worship of Shiva, of course, and it's possibly the oldest form of worship, where around 200 BC, Shiva was worshipped as Rudra. And this is how Shiva is referred to in the Rig Veda, not with the word Shiva, but with the word Rudra. But that also means Shiva only. And according to the Shaivites, Shiva is the highest tattva and Jiva is an ansh of Shiva. Bhagwan says, this is also not applicable to me. Then the third one he talks about is the principle of Pancharatra. Pancharatra was a movement which started around the 3rd century BC. And in that movement, Narayan, Bhagwan Narayan, was worshipped as the supreme being. As time went on, this Narayan worship changed into the Vaishnav tradition of worship. This also Bhagwan negates. Then he talks about Jainam. Jainam means the doctrine of Jainism. This was founded, I think, around the 7th century. And according to the teachings of Jainism, one has to conquer all worldly desires. The idea of godhood in Jainism, I believe, is the worship of the perfected soul called Siddha. They worship liberated souls that are also called Tirthankars. So these liberated souls are the ones who have overcome all their karmas, they have overcome all their desires, and they have attained salvation. Bhagwan says, I also don't define myself with this doctrine. Finally, he talks about Mimamsa, principle of Mimamsa. So there are two kinds or divisions, you can say, of Mimamsa. One is called Purva Mimamsa and the other is called Uttara Mimamsa. Uttara Mimamsa is also called Vedanta. So in Purva Mimamsa, mostly they used to follow the karma kant, the worship of different pujas, gods, etc. But both Purva and Uttara, they both take Vedas as the final authority for the truth. But Bhagwan says, now, while he's giving his introduction to his guru, he says, I don't need any of these schools of thought, although they are all valid means for progressing in our spiritual journey. I no longer need them. I no longer identify with them. Why? Because my Atma is already liberated. Atma is always liberated, but I have become free from the thought, free from the concept that I am a body, mind, and intellect. I have had the direct experience of Atma. So what is the purpose of this particular shloka? I was just wondering to myself, why does he have to talk about so many schools of thought and philosophies if he's not identifying with any of them? So I think that the purpose of this shloka was to remove our identity at the level of intellect. I think that when we associate ourselves as I am a Shaivite, or I am a Vaishnav, or I am a Jaina, or I am a Tattva Pancharatra, when we kind of give ourselves these labels, I think we create limitations for our identity. And we put ourselves in little boxes, and then we even fight that my box is better than the other boxes, or my philosophy is the highest, or my Bhagwan is the highest. And this is so wrong, because none of these things are our true identity. When you have realized that your true nature is that auspicious Brahma, Shiva, Kevaloham, as Bhagwan says, Shankaracharya says, none of these little isms, none of little philosophies are needed anymore by him. And the one who realizes through Aparosh Anubhuti, his true self is that Sarva Vyapak Brahma, then I don't have to limit myself to one Devta or another Devta, though they are valid means to reach that state, to reach that idea that I am Brahma. I no longer need to limit myself to just this form of worship, because all the Bhagwans, all the philosophies, all of them have the substratum of Aham Brahmasmi, or that Brahma is the only truth. So valid means of liberation, valid means for purification actually. But after having reached the stage of aparoksha anubhuti, Shankara declares, I am not any of these little roads or rastas or means of liberation, because I am already liberated. Okay. So this is something that we can also apply to ourselves. Are we limiting ourselves by just keeping ourselves as one aspect of worship rather than seeing the divine, the supreme being in all these forms of worship? Something to think about. Next time, shlok number 5. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Chitarpana. Jai Gurudev. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you Zoom team. Thank you Ashish for chanting. God bless you all. Have a great evening. I'll see you tomorrow for Bhakti. God bless.